Chapter 2. Zen Schools. Which one should you choose? Zen is a practical path as much as it is a spiritual tradition. When you start exploring Zen in the modern world, you will quickly encounter a spectrum of schools, lineages, and teaching styles. This breadth can be both exciting and overwhelming. The question, which Zen school should I choose, is not a quiz you pass or fail. It's a question of fitting a way of practice to your life, your temperament, and your longing for awakening or calm, clarity, and compassion in daily living. In this chapter, we'll map the main Zen schools you're likely to encounter in the West and in many parts of Asia, explain what makes each one distinctive, and offer practical guidance on how to choose a path that sustains you over time. What makes Zen Zen in practice? Before we dive into the branches, it helps to name a few practical characteristics that tend to differentiate Zen schools in everyday life. The central practice. Most Zen training centers emphasize Zazen, seated meditation, as the core of daily life. Some schools emphasize a particular posture or form more than others, but the discipline of sitting, listening, and bringing awareness to the present moment is the common ground. The path to insight. Some schools center koan study, a paradoxical question or statement used as a focal point, as a vehicle toward insight. Others emphasize just sitting, shikantaza, or a mix of both. The difference in approach often shapes the teacher-student dynamic, retreat structure, and the pace at which students are invited to deepen their practice. Monastic versus lay emphasis. Zen temples have a long monastic heritage, but many lineages today organize around lay communities with regular practice, weekend retreats, and drop-in meditation sessions. Your choice might be influenced by whether you want deep monastic forms or flexible lay practice that fits a busy life. Ritual and liturgy. Some Zen lineages preserve elaborate liturgical forms, chanting, and temple rituals. Others keep things spare and conversational. The difference can feel striking if you're not expecting it. Relationship with a teacher. The teacher-student relationship is central in most Zen traditions, but the nature of that relationship varies. Some traditions emphasize a direct, sometimes blunt, confrontation with the student's conditioning. Others emphasize steady guidance, gentle inquiry, and long-term mentorship. With that orientation, let's look at the main Zen schools you're likely to meet in the modern world. The three major branches you'll encounter in Japan and the West. 1. Soto Zen, Shikantaza, and daily life practice. Overview. Founding emphasis. Soto Zen traces back to the Chinese and Korean Zen lineages that came to Japan and was systematized in the hands of Japanese masters like Dogen Zenji, 1200s, 1253. Dogen's emphasis on practice realization, practice itself as the expression of enlightenment, shaped a practice as life orientation. Core practice, shikantaza, or just sitting, is the hallmark of Soto practice. It is often described as silent, steady, and expansive meditation where insight emerges through sustained, non-analytic sitting. Some Soto centers also integrate breath awareness and body posture, but the emphasis remains on ordinary sitting and mindful engagement with daily activities. Approach to practice. Gradual, patient, and consistent. The path invites people to weave meditation into daily life, work, and family, rather than reserving awakening for rare, intense experiences. Temple atmosphere. Soto temples tend to offer a calm, welcoming space for lay practitioners. There is usually a strong emphasis on discipline, etiquette, and a sense of long-term continuity. What this tends to feel like for a lay practitioner. If you want a practice you can return to in the day-to-day rhythm of life. Wake up, brew tea, sit, work, repeat. Soto often feels like a practical home base. If you prefer a slower, incremental approach to awakening, with steady guidance and a strong emphasis on everyday mindfulness, Soto can be very supportive. 2. Rinzai Zen, koan-centered practice. Overview. Founding emphasis. The Rinzai lineage comes from the Lingji school in China. It arrived in Japan and was revitalized by masters such as Hakuin Ekaku, 18th century, who systematized koan study as a tool for awakening. Core practice. Koan study, koan practice, is central. A koan is a paradoxical question or statement that resists logical thinking, designed to push the mind beyond habitual patterns. Practice is typically conducted under the close supervision of a teacher who gives the student a koan to work with regular, intense questioning, and sometimes formal sanzen, private interview, sessions. Approach to practice. Often more intense and directive than Soto. There is a strong emphasis on experiencing a breakthrough or sense of awakening, Kensho or Satori, though its timing varies widely among individuals. Temple atmosphere. Rinzai settings can be austere and rigorous. The structure of practice often includes formal meditation sessions, dharma talks, and a teacher-student dynamic that may feel demanding to beginners. What this tends to feel like for a lay practitioner. If you're drawn to a practice that emphasizes a direct encounter with awakening through inquiry, and you don't mind a bolder, sometimes challenging conversation with a teacher, Rinzai-style practice can be profoundly stimulating. Some people discover they resonate with the work of koan study, the invitation to question assumptions and to awaken through direct, destabilizing insight. It's not for everyone, but for some it provides a powerful shortcut into clarity. 3. Obaku Zen, a smaller, liturgically flavored bridge. Overview. Founding context. Obaku is a Japanese Zen school that emerged in the 17th century from Chinese Lingji, Rinzai, influence and preserved stronger Chinese-style rituals and chanting. It's smaller than Soto or Rinzai in many places, but it has a distinctive flavor worth knowing. Core practice. Obaku practice blends zazen with a more liturgical, ritual-rich atmosphere. There is often more emphasis on chanting, temple bells, and formal ceremony than you might find in some other Zen centers. Approach to practice. It tends to offer a balanced, somewhat liturgical approach while maintaining the practice of meditation. For lay practitioners who enjoy ceremonial beauty and a sense of daily life anchored in ritual, Obaku can be very appealing. Temple atmosphere. Obaku temples often cultivate a serene, contemplative mood with a clear sense of lineage and ritual form. What this tends to feel like for a lay practitioner. If you enjoy ritual, chant, and a traditional temple atmosphere alongside meditation, Obaku can feel grounding and spiritually rich without requiring monastic life. 4. Sambwa Kyodan and hybrid, Western adapted Zen, not a traditional Japanese school name, but very influential in the West. Overview. Founding context. The Sambwa Kyodan, three-school union, emerged in the 20th century through the efforts of masters such as Hakuin Yasutani. It blended elements of Soto, Rinzai, and Shan practice and became especially influential in the West as a doorway for lay people to access koan practice alongside shikantaza. Core practice. Sambwa teaching often uses a hybrid approach. Koan practice at the heart of training, layered with Soto-style mindfulness and daily life practice. The aim is to cultivate a direct, experiential awakening that can be integrated into ordinary life. Approach to practice. It's common for lay students in Sambwa-inspired centers to participate in structured retreats, study groups, and a clear teacher-student pathway, with a strong emphasis on personal insight, Kensho, expressed through daily practice. Community atmosphere. In the West, Sambwa-inspired centers can feel accessible, practical, and less rooted in a single rigid ritual than some traditional Japanese temples, while still honoring lineages and teachers. What this tends to feel like for a lay practitioner. If you're curious about koan inquiry but want a less austere or less monastic environment, the Sambwa approach can be a middle path that supports serious practice in a lay-friendly setting. Key distinctions summarized. Practice focus. Soto is driven by shikantaza and steady, long-haul practice. Rinzai emphasizes koan-driven insight and intimate teacher dialogue. Obaku emphasizes liturgy and contemplative ritual with meditation. Sambwa Kaidan blends koan work with Soto-style practice for lay environments. Pace and intensity. Soto tends to be slower and more gradual. Rinzai can be more intense and dramatic in the moment of inquiry. Obaku sits somewhere in between. Sambwa in the West often aims for accessible, structured programs without requiring monastic life. Relationship to ritual. Soto and many Western Soto centers are relatively subdued ritual environments. Rinzai temples might be more formal and ceremony-heavy in some places. Obaku is more ritual-rich. Sambwa centers vary, but often present a practical balance of inquiry and practice. A practical guide to choosing. How to decide in real life. The choice is rarely about which school is correct in an abstract sense. It's about what makes sense for you, your temperament, your life, and your longings. Here's a practical way to approach the question. 1. Clarify your aims. What do you hope Zen will give you? A calmer mind, steadier attention, a framework for ethical living, or a path toward awakening that you can live with day by day? Do you want a quiet, ongoing daily practice you can maintain while working, parenting, or studying? Or are you seeking a more intense, transformative spark that might come through koan practice, retreats, and deeper teacher guidance? 2. Consider your temperament. If you prefer gentle guidance and time to mature slowly, Soto's steady approach often suits you. If you're drawn to intellectual challenge, abrupt shifts in perspective, and the dynamic of direct teacher dialogue, Rinzai might be compelling. If you enjoy ritual beauty, a blend of meditation with ceremonial forms, Obaku can feel nourishing. If you want a tried-and-tested Western doorway to koan practice with a lay-friendly structure, Sambwa-like programs could be a good fit. 3. Look for a teacher you can trust. The teacher-student relationship is central. A good teacher reflects presence, steadiness, and the ability to meet you where you are. What matters more than the school is the quality of guidance you feel you receive. Ask, do you feel heard? Does the teacher offer clear, compassionate guidance? Is there a sense of safety and encouragement to explore your mind honestly? 4. Examine the environment. Temple life versus community center. Do you want a place with more formal ritual and temple routines, or a more informal, community-based setting? Schedule and accessibility. Do evenings and weekends work for you? Are there retreats or intensive practice periods that you can attend? Sangha, the community is the community welcoming to new practitioners, including people from diverse backgrounds and beliefs. 5. Try before you commit. Attend introductory talks, sit in on a meditation session, or participate in an open house. If possible, stay for a weekend retreat or a short residential retreat to experience a more immersive practice. Talk to experienced students. Ask what their practice has changed in their life. Inquire about the teacher's approach to mistakes, doubt, and everyday challenges. 6. Ask practical questions. How is lay practice accommodated? Are there specific programs for students who work full-time? What is the structure for practice? Are there weekly sittings, daily schedules, retreats, and how long are the sessions? How is guidance given? Are there regular interviews with the teacher? Is there a formal koan program, or is the emphasis on silent practice and instruction in a more Soto-style fashion? What is the path of study? Is there a formal curriculum, or is it more conversation-based and adaptive? 7. Trust your inner sense. After you've tried a few sessions or talked with teachers, notice your felt sense. Do you feel at ease? Is there a sense of this could be the right home for a while? Practice, over time, has its own way of showing whether a lineage or teacher is fitting. What to expect in the early stages, whichever path you choose. The first weeks are often about establishing a daily rhythm. Time on the cushion, time for walking meditation or mindful activity, perhaps a brief daily reading or study. Most centers will invite you to join group sittings, a weekly or bi-weekly schedule, and occasional retreats. There may be introductory instructions on posture, breath, and how to approach the practice with a beginner's mind. You may encounter some confusion, doubt, or even a sense of not getting anything. That is not unusual. Zen training often enters through the territory of not knowing. A good teacher will acknowledge this and help you remain with the practice with patience and clarity. Expect a community of fellow practitioners with varying levels of experience. Some people will seem naturally at ease. Others will be in the early, awkward stages of learning what it feels like to be still. A few common questions, answered briefly. Do I need to be Buddhist to practice Zen? No. Many Zen centers welcome people of diverse religious and non-religious backgrounds. The path is about practice, not creed, and you'll be guided to engage with the present moment, ethics, and wisdom as you are. Can I be a lay practitioner and still receive formal instruction? Yes. In most centers, lay practitioners are welcome and supported with regular sittings, talks, and retreats. How long does it take to get Zen? Awakening is not a stopwatch event. Some people notice shifts in weeks or months. For others, it takes years. Consistent practice is more important than a dramatic moment on a particular day. What about women's leadership? Many Zen communities have strong female teachers and leaders. The important factor is the quality of teaching and the integrity of the lineage, not gender. A closing invitation. Choosing a Zen school is less about finding the perfect label and more about finding a practice that sustains you over time. Zen is not a destination but a way of living, learning to meet the present moment with clarity, kindness, and a wakeful heart. The right path for you will help you show up more fully in your life, at work, at home, with your friends, and in your moments of solitude. 2 practical paths you might consider as you begin. The Soto path as a daily home. If you're seeking a reliable, steady, everyday practice that can fit around a busy life, start with Soto-style centers. Find a teacher who emphasizes gentle, consistent guidance, and allow yourself to settle into a routine that you can repeat day after day. Use Shikantaza as a touchstone for returning to the breath, the body, and the present moment amid the ordinary activities of your life. The Rinzai-inspired path for sharp inquiry. If you're drawn to a more intensive approach and you want to explore the frontiers of mind through question and dialogue, seek a center that offers koan study with patient, clear mentorship. It's common to begin with a foundation in Zazen, then gradually engage with a koan program as you feel ready. Remember, the aim is not drama or pedantic puzzle solving, but a direct seeing of your own conditioning and the possibilities beyond it. In the end, the choice you make should feel true to your temperament, your daily life, and your longing for practice. Zen is not about acquiring the right school as an external badge. It's about sustaining a practice that continues to wake you up, over and over, to the reality of this moment. If you keep returning to the cushion, returning to the breath, and returning to how you treat others with honesty and care, you'll find the path that suits you. As you step forward, give yourself permission to explore. Visit centers, attend talks, sit with teachers, and listen to your own heart as you listen to the teaching. Your life may become calmer, more compassionate, and more awake as you move through the questions of which school to choose. The days of your practice, day by day, will reveal the path that is most true for you, not by a decree written in a script, but by the simple, humble, ongoing act of showing up.